Guys, well, welcome back. I'm super excited to see this content too myself. I'm actually gonna pass this to two of our MainStreet Oceanside team members that have done a great job improving and expanding our Sunset Market. But here's Cathy Nykiel. She's the director of events. She does all the planning for our downtown events with that produced by MainStreet Oceanside. So she's going to talk to you about how she manages our farmers and Sunset Market. She'll be going on logistics and recruiting vendors and so on. So, and then the next person that we have that will be speaking will be Kristin Forbes. She's our marketing communications manager. She'll be talking about how she promotes and leverages everything we have at the markets for the public. So I'm going to pass this to Cathy Nykiel and take it away, Cathy.
Well, is it morning? It's still morning, right? Wait a minute.
Yes.
We're on the West Coast. Anyways, I'm Cathy Nykiel. I'm the director of events at MainStreet Oceanside. I'm actually from Michigan, but the service brought me out here to California. Love it. And I've been here for 31 years in Oceanside. I started as an event coordinator at MainStreet Oceanside, doing some big events with a very small staff and a lot of volunteers. And then we opened up the Sunset Market in 2007, and I assisted with that a little bit, and then took over as the market manager in 2010. And then I liaison with the Ben Dixons, who have been doing the farmers market for 30 years, just a couple years ago. And I do all the staffing, logistics. I'm the list person and make sure that the equipment and the staff and everything goes, the timelines, all that crazy stuff for events for MainStreet. And then I also work with other organizations concerning their events. Of course, it is a team effort because I can't do it all. So I do have a pretty large team that assists with me that has a lot of knowledge, along with our volunteers and our committee members. So next slide, please. Next slide, please. So this was the farmers market on Thursday mornings before COVID, a very vibrant farmers market. Next slide, please. The farmers market was started in 1992 by the Ben Dixons. It was started by the city of Oceanside. It'll turn 30 this August. And it was turned over at MainStreet Oceanside in 2002. It was 2 blocks, no power, rain or shine. And we always follow the guidelines for the City of Oceanside, Department of Agriculture, and of course, County Health. Next slide, please. So website development, we've streamlined this over the years, but logo, visual stimulation, all these things that are here on this particular slide make a good visual way to develop and work around to expand who you want to see at the market and get the information out to your guests and also to your vendors. Next slide, please. And then these are our websites and social media tags. I'm not going to go through them all, but you can see that we've developed a few. We started with just the MainStreetOceanside.com. And then as we've seen what works and what doesn't, we added more Instagram taglines or change them, and same with Facebook. Next slide, please. So our vendors, our application, screening, policies, and suspension. These are key ways that you can actually set up the rules. Just like a child, you have to set up rules for your vendors. So we make sure that we have a list of vendors that are on the wait list. Maybe they're not permanent, they haven't, they just applied, maybe they have a duplicate product. We don't want too much of the same product, otherwise our vendors don't make money, and therefore we don't make money. We verify who is permanent and who is not. Are you sure you're going to be in? Duplication of product. What is the process? Cancellation policy. Please don't tell me on market day at 5 that you're going to cancel, because I may have people on standby that want to come in. And then the payment policy. So our payment policy for the day market is you pay day of. But for our Sunset Market, it's a little bit different. Our food pays that day. They have 3 days to pay either at the market or online. Our retail pays, depending on if they're permanent, they pay for the month, or if they're a call-in or a fill-in, then that's day of market. And then trying to get the next person to call the next vendor in line. Let's say I have people on standby, they want to come in. So I want to make sure that I contact them right away. Fill the spot. Again, show me the money. And then suspension policy and rules to make sure that your market flow, not just for you, but for the vendor and the guests, is smooth. You want to make sure that there are certain guidelines. Some of that is through general communication. Each market is different. Our market has a lot of moving parts. We have several different things in each market. So we want to make sure that the evolution for both you and the vendor is smooth, and that the vendor understands that they have to be mellow. You know, this is a happy place. We want our events to be happy places. So that's why we set up our policies and rules, so that we can also refer back to that to let the vendors know what's going on if there's a problem. Next slide, please. And then our website, sunsetmarket.com. You can also access that through our MainStreet Oceanside, was set up. And Kristin is going to go a little bit more into the social media, but we developed the website. We try to keep the information up to date so that both our vendors, our guests, and our partners have that information, and it's easily accessible so they can share it. Make sure that you keep your social media person is up to date on who is in or out. I actually send my map to Kristin every week to let her know who is in and out that week, so she can refer to it. Because if somebody's saying, hey, I want to promote and be tagged with MainStreet Oceanside or Sunset Market or Oceanside Farmers Market, we want to know that they're actually part of our team. We've had several people who tried to, move their way in and utilize our social media by tagging us, but they have nothing to do with our organization. And then of course, invite your public and vendors to give you input or ideas. Some of the ideas can be kind of crazy, but most of them are a simple thing that you could institute or change. Might be existing rule or a setup, or maybe they're looking for a particular product and we never heard about it. But we always look for new ideas because it is ever changing. Next slide, please. So March 12th, oh, what a bad day. Shut down the farmers market. We shut down the Sunset Market. Immediately, just like everybody else, all we saw was all the numbers were dropping. Our income loss, we had to let go of 20 people. And then with the help of the existing staff that we kept on board, which was small, we went out for grants. And then we developed several different websites because not just the markets, but we also had our downtown. So we started our Oceanside to go, our shop local Oceanside. And then for our vendors, we started this virtual Sunset Market website to at least get that information out for those who are looking for vendors or looking for product. Next slide, please. And of course, then the next step. So our farmers markets were considered essential services. We're like, woohoo, yay. We already had limited income with our other markets and other events being squashed. So we were very happy that we could do this, but we had to do a lot of research. So I went out to several different markets, and as you can see, these were some of the different signs that were up. Next slide, please. And then our resource contacts. Of course, the city, essential services, county health. I mean, I could read all of these, but we wanted to make sure that we got the word out. They're looking to us for answers. And so as we were getting information, we were pushing that out through our social media. And And Kristin was just inundated. What are we going to do next? What are we going to do next? And just like all of your organizations, our brains are just, well, we could do this, we could do that, but we had to make sure that there's only a few of us doing it. What can we do? So we had to really streamline that before we could send it out. So with us, we did promotion through our social media, emails, and quarterly magazine. Next slide, please. And then we had to realign the market because they had set up some guidelines on spacing due to COVID. So we were 2 blocks, now we're 3. Next slide, please. And then we had to make sure that everybody got the new rules and regulations. Make sure that we blasted that out and had signs up everywhere. Next slide, please. And then we had to let our vendors know and make sure that they were following all these guidelines. Some of them were already existing, but some had changed, especially the things that were coming down from federal, county health, and the city. But your vendors are part of your team. So we consider any success a team effort. And we got through it. It was a little crazy because the rules were constantly changing every week. So communication is key. And then I put this in here, when texting is not good. So for me, I might have a radio, I might have 1 or 2 phones, I'm talking to people and people are texting. I'm not going to hear that. How emergent is it? So I try to let my vendors and my staff know, hey, if you're texting me, I'm not going to hear any of that. I'm not going to be able to check all that. If it's important, please call me. So that's why I put that particular note in this slide. Please, next slide, please. And then we thought of ways to activate different areas. Because we added this other block, how can we activate that area? Can we bring in a small busker to play some music? Do we need to move some of our vendors around so that there's actually an activity? The City of Oceanside Fire came in and they handed out information. Some of our Vista Community Clinic, they came in, but there were several different ways. We wanted to educate our different areas because our vendors were feeling, well, this wasn't the way it was in the past. Well, sorry, it's a new day. So you got to roll with the change. We still want to make it work. Next slide, please. And then, of course, cross promote with pictures and product. This particular one was a cross promote with our City of Oceanside, Green Oceanside Zero Waste program. And they came on as a partner. So, but a picture with a product really makes it pop a little bit more and they can relate. Next slide, please. Showcase your partners. Again, here's Green Oceanside with their booth. Here is one of our farmers. Next slide, please. And then we partnered also with the Flex Alert with Energy Upgrade California, and then our Oceanside City Library. They were doing book sales, but during COVID that was very hard. They got books in, and it had to be cleaned, and it was a little crazy. Next slide, please. And then follow up with your supporters. And I put a list of several different supporters just to give you ideas. I mean, there's the normal ones. The city is the one who allows you to do your professional service agreement. Fire makes sure that nobody's going to set anything on fire. But there's several different other partners that are out there to include your guests and also the people that live around there. Next slide, please. And then showcase your vendors. I think most of the pictures that we have received that we share were actually provided by a vendor. This one of Joseph doing the drink, I just think that's a wonderful picture. It shows it all. Wow, I'm thirsty. And then of course our barbecue on the right. Next slide, please. And then our basket man and our green lady. These are great pictures. It shows everything. And they're following protocol. Yay. And then maybe just a small caption. That's why I put this here. You know you want some. Those strawberries look so good. Wow. Next slide, please. And then share your vendor successes. We've had several vendors who have received awards. It may be an award concerning their product, or it may just be a personal award that is a wow. It kind of makes your, how am I trying to put it? It makes your guests and your vendors more real, more human. We all like that human touch. And Kristin is very good at getting those pictures out there that do the human touch. Next slide, please. Special occasions. So for those who work with me know that give me an excuse and I will decorate or dress up. As you can see, this office is very clean and beautiful. Mine is a disaster area. It has decorations everywhere, but that's because I like to decorate. So examples, you have holidays. These are some typical ones. St. Patrick's Day was last week. There was a lot of green, but a lot of people were happy that day. Easter, July 4th, we have a haunted market at Sunset Market, but a lot of people like to dress up. It's not so mundane. And then I put other examples in here about something that is special to your area, something that is special with your vendor. And then your vendors actually will get excited. They may even share something with you that you didn't know about them or about their product. But I love this picture here. This is actually Terry's grandson promoting their beef jerky. So I thought it was a cute picture, especially that little boy is cute. But again, we're human. How cool is that? And then remind vendors to share their information with you and cross promote. So this is kind of what I send every week to my vendors with a map of their location for the farmers market, because I share probably, I'm the one who does the map for the farmers market, but Mark oversees it. But I want to make sure that on the email and the tagging area and the social media side, that they understand, look, you can be part of this, share your posts, tag us. And so that's why I put this particular slide in there, just to remind your vendors, don't forget, we want to help, we want to make it great, but you have to help us get the information out and cross promote. Next slide, please. And then we do a bi-monthly email newsletter. Kristin puts that together called What's Up Downtown Oceanside to get the word out. Next slide. And we do a feature for a vendor for either your email or your blog. But the picture is key, because if it's a great picture, it will tell all sorts of things. This was, as you can see, for Valentine's Day. I just thought it was a good example. Next slide, please. And then repetitive promotion. So repetitive promotion for me is good because we have a lot of visitors that come and go, or people that may be gone for a little bit, but we do repetitive promotion either through our email, our newsletter, or social media. And then we have a lot of locals that come in, new people, and we want to showcase, we're great. We want you to come down, come visit us, come see us, get excited. You're going to have so much fun. And then you'll come back, you'll tell your friends. That's what we're hoping. And then just make sure that we stay in touch with our guests and our supporters. A lot of people who were maybe a supplier or a partner, once they see how active we are in trying to promote and push all that information forward, they want to be part of that. Next slide, please. Communication. So there's several different ways that you can communicate. Our advisory situation is mostly with vendors just to promote or reinforce protocol, rules, and regulations. Email is usually right now is a very simple way to get that word out, but not everybody sees that. We do send some text programs to our different vendors, not necessarily for the day market, but for the sunset market, because we have to close down streets. So we do different texting programs concerning updates, county health's coming in, could be a variety of things. And then of course, social media. Maybe we have public safety night that week. Maybe it's haunted market. And then of course, our websites, we constantly are updating that to put what is most on the forefront as far as an event at the top of our page. And then updates. Next slide, please. And then what we all want is success. So I have several pictures here that just show we're back. We're so happy to be doing what we do, and we love our city and our downtown. So success. Next slide. And that wraps it up, folks. There's my contact information. I'm going to turn it over to Kristin because she's next.
Thank you, Cathy. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome.
Hear you, Kristin.
Thank you for confirming.
Kristin, I'm gonna go ahead and introduce you, or actually, you go ahead and take it over from here. You should be good.
Okay. I'm going to dive right into our marketing team dynamic to kind of recap and expand. So Cathy and I collaborate on a weekly or more basis about which vendors to spotlight on social media and our email and in our print magazine, Discover Downtown. Special market events that are happening, like she mentioned, our haunted market. We've got our Star Spangled Sunset Market coming up in July. These are more sunset market events. We don't typically have themed farmers market, but you could certainly do that in your own community if you would want to apply those ideas. We also have special vendors at our market that we talk about and who specifically is in the market that week. And Cathy, to recap, communicates directly with vendors and partners, managing vendor outreach through email. When I need to communicate with vendors, I predominantly do it through Instagram messaging. It's just the most effective. They're really responsive. It's worked well for us. Cathy reminds vendors in her weekly email communications the best ways to tag us on social media. And for us, that's in the photo directly on Instagram and in their Instagram story posts. When they tag us in their Instagram story posts, I can just go through our messages and just boom, 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 one after the other post into our story. And we have a lot of farmers market and sunset market vendors both who are doing that now. And it works really well. It's really efficient for both of us. And it's been great for promotion. Cathy, as she mentioned, sends me maps of which vendors are in that week, which I check before featuring specific vendors to make sure that they are in, they will be there. And she's also created spreadsheets for both of our markets that have social media handles on them to help me ensure that I'm following our vendors and that I can find them quickly when I'm looking for them, because we have a lot to keep track of. And Cathy comes up with specific campaign ideas and she manages partnerships. And then I proactively create and curate content that fits within the parameters of those campaigns or partnerships. And I largely seek it out myself. You know, I also check our feed regularly when I'm doing this. I'm not just going to vendor profiles, but because I followed all of our vendors, or the vast majority, using Cathy's spreadsheets, content often finds its way to me. Cathy selects vendors to spotlight in our newsletter and our print magazine. Then I choose photography for those and I source the content usually online. Finally, Cathy promotes the markets monthly on Oceanside Update, which is a monthly program by our public access channel that features local Oceanside organizations. And then I post these segments of our show on all of our social media because they feature all of the programs and events that MainStreet, Oceanside, and downtown is offering that month. And then one great thing that I do is that once I post these, I then add them to our Instagram highlight right at the top of our profile. So people can see that there and watch it throughout the month. And then I take the text that Cathy writes in those scripts and I put it in our social media posts for variety. Next slide, please. So storytelling mediums, just to kind of summarize quickly, we have our social media channels, our email newsletter, which is biweekly, What's Up Downtown Oceanside, our print magazine, Discover Downtown, which is quarterly, our website, sunsetmarket.com, and then we just have a page on our MainStreetOceanside.com website. It's listed there. All of these links are clickable, and you should be able to refer to this presentation later to look at those directly. And then we also put out press releases for our special Sunset Market events, which we talked about already. Next slide, please. For social media, so we have one dedicated account for both markets, and it's Oceanside Sunset Market on Instagram. On Facebook, we have separate dedicated accounts for our markets. So we have Oceanside Morning Farmers Market on Facebook and Oceanside Sunset Market Street Fair on Facebook. And both of those shortcut links are active, so you can go to those later. We are also posting on a regular basis to our MainStreet Oceanside accounts, which is MainStreet Oceanside on Instagram and Facebook both. Next slide, please. So we're posting consistently about the markets, 3 to 10 market posts per week on all of these social media accounts that I just mentioned. And we're mostly posting on Monday through Thursday, but if there's a countdown or there's like a big event coming up, I'll sometimes post over the weekend as well. Just to kind of summarize our Instagram and social media as a whole growth. So since October of 2017, when I took over managing social media, our total accounts, all of those accounts have grown from 23,498 people to over 67,000 followers. It's tripled predominantly. And our Instagram accounts have grown specifically from about 1,200 followers each to up to 14,100 for Instagram, Oceanside Sunset Market, and almost 16,000 for MainStreet Oceanside on Instagram. So we've experienced a lot of growth by consistently posting. Next slide, please. I want to talk a moment about our email. So this is What's Up Downtown Oceanside. You already saw a few slides in Cathy's presentation. This is a bi-weekly email that usually comes out on Wednesdays. We send it out to a distribution list of about 5,000 plus subscribers. And in each issue, we are telling the story of our markets by using Farmers Market and Sunset Market photo headers, as you can see here. That was from our Sweetheart Sunset Market for Valentine's Day. And we change these with each issue for maximum social exposure or engagement and exposure on social media. And then we're featuring the special sunset markets like I mentioned for holidays. This is the Sweetheart Sunset Market in the listing there, actually within our event listings, because if you scroll through this email later, which it's linked, you can see a series of events that are happening throughout downtown. So we always feature our Sunset Market events at the top. And then also in this email, as you can see in the smaller example on the right, we're highlighting vendors briefly in a farmer's market or a Sunset Market vendor spotlight. So this is an example, Big Joy Family Bakery. They create these beautiful macaroons and other beautiful bakery items. So we're highlighting them for the Sweetheart Sunset Market. And I think they were going to be at both markets, and they had some great things to sell and great promotions. And then also at the bottom key of every What's Up issue, we have every Thursday all year round with links to both our MainStreet Oceanside Farmers Market page and our Sunset Market page as a reminder to everyone that these happen every week, and that's in every issue. Next slide, please. So I want to tell you about an email growth strategy that we've been using, and this will help answer a question from Taylor McDonald had about how do we incorporate the markets with our downtown and our downtown businesses and cross promote those. So this email growth strategy that we've created for What's Up, which again is predominantly a listing of events that are happening in downtown Oceanside, as well as our special markets and events that MainStreet Oceanside is having. So for the last 10 issues, we've been promoting the release of What's Up. Every time it goes out, we post it on all our social media channels. And we list, as you can see here in the slide, a summary of contents of what's in that issue, what's happening downtown, a link to that issue, a shortened constant contact link usually. And then we also have a call to action to sign up for our email newsletter on our website. And we've been boosting these posts, the last 9 of them or so, for $15. And if it comes out on Wednesday, we run that $15 boost ad on Facebook from Wednesday to Saturday, because that's when most of the first few events listed in the email newsletter are happening. And we've had a lot of great results from this. We've experienced a record number of organic email signups on MainStreet Oceanside. Since November of 2021, we've had a net gain of 370 subscribers who've completed our sign up form on our website, and that represents a growth rate of about 6.25%. Since we created this email form back in, I think, June of 2021, we've had about 640 subscribers who have signed up. And so, and not only do we have more subscribers than ever, we have 6,499. they're not only receiving our emails, but they're reading them at a record rate. So our average open rate has increased from 31% in October of 2021 when we started this to over 45% now. And in advertising on Facebook and posting all of this on all of our social media channels, you can see that we've reached a total of 78,812 accounts. And about a third of these, 23,523, directly through the ads. That's people that were reached through the ads. And we've spent a total of $141. So we haven't spent a whole lot over this 3 or 4 month period, but we've reached a lot of people and we've really seen a lot of growth in our emails. Next slide, please. So I want to talk briefly about Discover Downtown Magazine. This is our quarterly print magazine. We distribute it to about 20,000, we print 20,000 copies, mail, I think about 19,000 of them to local Oceanside zip codes, and also distribute to our local hotels. And we have an online edition, which I've linked to here. It's on MainStreetOceanside.com, which we link to our advertisers, and people can view it online as well. And in our magazine, we tell the story of our markets in long form by profiling a specific farmer's market vendor, like you see here. This is Crystal's Pure Honey. They've been in the market for a very long time. It's just a profile of what they offer, how long they've offered it, et cetera. And then we also feature milestones in history, like the reopening of the Oceanside Morning Farmers Market during the pandemic. Next slide, please. You can see here, this was our story that we did on the reopening. So we try to incorporate a lot of that, our best photography from social media that we've utilized, and then also use it as an opportunity to include those sidebars about the rules to follow and what people needed to know before they were going, so we could really get the word out on that as well. Next slide, please. So telling the story of Market Day, we are not just marketing the farmer's market or even just visiting the Sunset Market. We're marketing Market Day as a whole every Thursday in downtown Oceanside, because we have not just one, but we have 2 markets, morning and night. And we're promoting them more as than just weekly events. They're downtown experiences. We're encouraging our market goers to make a day of it downtown and to visit our downtown Oceanside businesses before and after visiting our markets. Here's an example post. If you look at on the right here, this is a last week from St. Patrick's Day. We have Petite Madeline Bakery, which is literally catty corner, like right across the street from the market. And they had these beautiful St. Patrick's Day desserts. And we were sure to mention to visit them after coming by the market on Thursday in downtown Oceanside. So that's one of the ways we try to tie in our posts the downtown businesses back in, sometimes through specific posts featuring a specific business like this one. But more often, if you look at the example that's on the left, we're just mentioning visiting our businesses downtown and if they're open and ready to serve you on Market Day, and just reminding people that they're here, they're available, they're ready. And then just also as a summary, market posts typically include those things: day of the week, market day times, location, our website, product examples, and like I mentioned, that plug to shop local at our downtown businesses. If you're not doing that when you're promoting your farmer's market, you should be. It's a really great opportunity to remind people that the businesses are there, especially if they're nearby. And it's something I highly recommend doing. Next slide, please. And again, how we're telling the story of Market Day, we're really going for telling it in a captivating way. I'm really trying to get that reaction from people that are looking at the post saying, I've got to go to the market. I've got to go to the market and I've got to get that specific food item or product that's being portrayed. And, you know, I'm using language that plays on what's being depicted in the photos. It's silly. That's fun. Lots of green, for example, here on the left, references on St. Patrick's Day, all kinds of little emojis that are green. And just fun language, like for our Sunset Market, this vendor was putting avocados and everything. So just opening up with the time has come as a play on words with the avocados. Next slide, please. So I also want to highlight the specific post types that we're doing. So we're not just doing those overall market posts like the preceding slide, but we're doing vendor profiles and previews. We're sharing 2 to 4 sentences typically in a post about the vendor and often what they will be offering that week specifically at the Sunset Market or the Farmers Market if they're having a special. And then we also do partner highlights, as Cathy mentioned. We're previewing, you know, with special guest partner booths, or this example that's on the right. We had a partnership that Cathy mentioned with Energy Upgrade California, where we were encouraging people to stop by our information booth to pick up more info about Flex Alerts, what they are, and encouraging them to sign up for Flex Alerts. So we did a lot of posts like that during that partnership, and we created custom content Cathy or Bobby or one of the wonderful people in our office captured that photo with Angie, one of our office people, actually taking the flyer from them. So we're really big on creating custom content for that really showcased what was available, and we got really good engagement from it. And another example of the different post types that we're doing, we do a lot of countdowns for special events. We use them to generate excitement for the 5 to 7 days leading up to the event. They're usually typically partnered with an email that goes out that week as well. And if you go to the next slide, please, I'll show you an example from our haunted market. This was a 7-day countdown that we did where we highlight different facets of the haunted market. It's a trick-or-treat event where kids can come and trick-or-treat from the vendors, which we showcased in day number 5 there, and also I think some day number 2 as well. But we highlighted specific vendors. We were showing the costumes. We were showcasing the evil laugh and blood-curdling scream contest. I think I got that name right. And countdown day number 4. And then number 3 is another partner example. We partner with the Turkey Trot. They had a booth at the haunted market, and we wanted to let people know that they would be there. And she was also in our costume parade there. 2 is, like I mentioned, is the partnership post, encouraging people to come find out about Flexlurks at our info booth at that market. And then we have our costume parade and countdown number 1. So we're highlighting all different aspects of the haunted market in the countdown. Next slide, please. So more on storytelling elements, photography and videography. So if you look at our feed, we're using a combination of original content and curated content. Professional photography for the sunset market usually comes from our event photographer who does photography for all our events, not just the sunset market. But for the farmer's market, that's not a time that she's typically able to be there. So these are photos for the farmer's market that are taken by staff and by myself in some cases, and color corrected using a color story app. If you guys aren't familiar with the color story, I highly recommend it. It's not very expensive. I think they have like an annual membership now for like maybe $25. And the color correction you can do to make those photos pop is incredible. It can really make the difference in your photography, especially if it's taken by someone on your staff. A color correction cropping can really make a big difference. So I highly, highly recommend that app. And then also in terms of our original content, like I mentioned before, KOCT is doing those monthly segments with Cathy, where she's not only talking about the farmer's market and the sunset market, but everything that's happening at MainStreet Oceanside and downtown. And I post those. And like I said, I put them in our Instagram story above there in the highlight, so people can see them throughout the month on Instagram. And then for curated content, vendor photography that's coming directly from our vendor accounts, which I use those handy spreadsheets that Cathy's created to try to find. People are tagging us. We encourage them to use the Sunset Market hashtag and also the Oceanside Farmers Market hashtag. But again, as she notifies people in her weekly emails, the best way really for us, that works well for us, is to tag us in our Instagram photos and our stories. And then also, we have a lot of wonderful active people in the Oceanside community that are just, you know, everything from moms taking their kids to the farmers market to people that offer professional photography and videography capturing our markets. And so we use those hashtags, and I search a lot on Instagram by location to find those videos and those photos. And I share those as often as possible because these people do a great job of capturing the classic, fun, laid back vibe of our markets and showcase what's happening there. And I love to give them credit back and showcase what they're doing. And it's really great because it's happening organically. They're creating this content and then we're sharing it with the community. Next slide, please. So our social media guide is something else that we've done to support our vendors, and we created it before the pandemic. And we created it because we've observed a really wide discrepancy in social media knowledge in our vendors, and also social media posting, because we have everybody who's creating highly professional posts. You know, they're posting and tagging us, you know, once a week, twice a week, you know, great posting, great content, down to some of our vendors don't have profiles at all, or they rarely post, maybe, you know, once or twice a year. So this guide that we created before the pandemic not only educates them on the basics of social media, but again, summarizes the best way that they can reach out to us on social, which for us has been Instagram. And then we also created a virtual Sunset Market online shopping guide, which Cathy mentioned during the pandemic. It had all of these things listed below, which you can refer to and click through the link on later. But I think one really helpful aspect of it was that we were color coding it to show which of our vendors were in the farmers market and the Sunset Market. And then we also included all their social media handles there. And it was a great way for people to connect with those vendors during the pandemic and get a hold of them. And while we did this, to cross promote this virtualsunsetmarket.com website specifically on our social media, we did more in-depth vendor profiles showcasing some of the vendors that were listed on that page. And as part of those posts, we always reminded people to go check out virtualsunsetmarket.com to find more vendors, to connect with them, and to see ways that they could support them during the pandemic. And then the final thing worth mentioning, I think, that we did during the pandemic was created a Selling Online for Local Business workshop series and Facebook group. And this was, these workshops were conducted by our promotion committee chair from March to June of 2020. And they were really all about helping our downtown businesses and also some of our market vendors create online stores and marketing their products online. Next slide, please. So I want to talk about a couple of specific campaign examples here that I think you might find helpful. This first example is our Sweetheart Sunset Market, which I've mentioned already. So Cathy had the idea for Valentine's Day to feature Valentine's Day specials to promote the Sweetheart Sunset Market. And she reached out to our vendors like she typically would do via email. And we were just really surprised because we received 20 plus responses, which is more than we've received in the past when we've asked for specific promotion for a specific event. And it was great because a lot of it was from vendors who rarely post to social media. And this is a problem that we deal with a lot, is like I mentioned, some are super active posting regularly and others don't even have accounts. And so this allowed us to create a lot of custom content for the market that people wouldn't find directly on the vendor's profile to highlight the overall event itself, but then to showcase specific specials that were going to be available at the Sweetheart Sunset Market. And it worked really well as a cross-promotional tool for the farmers market because a lot of the vendors who responded actually sell at the farmers market as well. So we were able to plug both markets that day. Next slide, please. And this is my final example. This is the Earth Month partnership, which Cathy talked about a little bit, that we had with Green Oceanside in 2021. And this was an example of a really dedicated campaign where we were utilizing all of our storytelling mediums, social media, email, website, press releases. And so what we did, Cathy created this partnership and our staff created this partnership with Green Oceanside to challenge the community to take action for the planet during Earth Month. And it was mainly about participating in the Mayor's Challenge for Sustainability, which was a quick little pledge to take action to be more sustainable and to use less water. And there were some virtual events as well, but the main push was for the Mayor's Challenge. And so starting in late March through the end of April, I really pushed this on all of our accounts, not just Sunset Market, Farmers Market, but MainStreet as well. We had a total of 84 social media posts during that time period on all of our accounts. And that included 5 weekly Farmers Market Facebook events and event posts on social media with, as you can see here, this co-branded overlay with the MainStreet logo and the Oceanside logo stating that we were partners for Earth Month. And I think it's worth noting here that I do create every single week on Facebook Oceanside Morning Farmers Market and Sunset Market events for that week. And for those 5 weeks, I was using this branded overlay on those events and sharing information about the partnership in those event posts specifically. And then in addition to that, we did a dedicated Earth Month email, which you can see on the right here. This is actually linked in the presentation. And it had, a solid open rate of 21.9%. We've seen much greater success in our open rate since then, but solid open rate for that event. And then also, we also had the dedicated page that you can see on this next slide, please. You can see here about the Mayor's Challenge for Sustainability, what it was, how to participate. And then the results, the main result from this event was that for the first year, I believe, Oceanside actually won first place in the Wylands National Mayor Challenge for water conservation, thanks to our partnership that we had at the farmers market, because as you can see here, they had a booth at the market. So we were cross-promoting that the booth was there, like we do for other partners who have a booth come in on a weekly basis. And just the cross-promotion we were able to do on all MainStreet Oceanside accounts, I feel like really pushed them over the top. So Oceanside actually won. And that is the end of that example and my presentation.
Thank you, Kristin. So it's time's up for us, but there is one question here that Amanda asked about businesses having a booth at the market. We have had businesses, and actually we still have a business, I believe, that has a brick and mortar that does the market consistently. It's a retail business, but we also have started restaurants at the market that have opened a business in Oceanside. So we have had a few success stories, and that's kind of what our vision is for these incubating business events that we produce. So thank you for that question.